Okay, guys, welcome into the Executing the Edge podcast. I'm your host, Nick Hubb, and we have a very special guest with us. We have Wager Talk handicapper and the co-founder of Sports Mayflower. We have Andrew McGinnis with us. How we doing, man?
It is great to be here, Nick. Great to finally chat. We've talked quite a bit and through Twitter and social media, and it's just so nice how many people you can meet through the powers of social media. So great to be here, man.
Absolutely, man. And evidently, there's a big game this weekend. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's called the Super Bowl. This one has been about 4.5 towards the Rams all week, which was expected. The movement might come a little bit here starting today, but minus 4.5. There's some fours out there towards the Rams, and they're getting most of the money currently. The total opened at 49.5, or there were some 50s that had opened, but it's 48.5 all week. And money line for the Bengals is plus 170. What are your initial thoughts on this big game here?
I mean, you mentioned the money line there for the Bengals. The first thing I'll say is that if anybody out there wants to bet on the money line for the Bengals, you're better off just taking Joe Burrow to win the MVP. You know, you're going to get upwards of plus 200, plus 220, some better numbers like that, depending on where you're betting. They're not going to win without Burrow getting the MVP or vice versa, I guess. That's going to be two things that coincide. So I'll say that right away. I do think this game is decided within a field goal, which I guess would lead me to liking the Bengals here. Ironically enough, I think that the Rams are going to win, but they won't cover. That's kind of been the narrative I've been saying. Obviously, I think the Bengals will have a puncher's chance and hang around. But as far as the total goes in this game, I've kind of been on the contrarian opinion as well at that. Is that, when that number started to get bet down, a lot of sharp players were jumping all over that 51.5. I kind of said, thanks very much. And at that 48.5, I went the other way. So I think we're going to see some points in this game. I don't think it's going to be as boring as people are kind of making it out to be.
Yeah, I think Burrow's just a different breed. He's going to be comfortable. I think he'll be more comfortable than Stafford. He's played in big games, right? The national championship, and Stafford's played in Detroit for how many years? So they haven't had any big games. But and you're going against the grain there for as history goes, right? The winner usually covers the spread 88% of the time, but I'm with you. I could see taking the Rams money line and the Bengals the plus 4.5. I could see that falling right in between there. Any thoughts on the anything else for the total or the spread for this one?
Well, I wanted to say that you talk about Joe Burrow, and obviously there's an interesting story for both people, right? And the experience level that you just said there with looking at a guy like Stafford who's older, but does age mean experience? Really, that's the question we have to ask ourselves. You got guys like Odell Beckham, you got Von Miller, Aaron Donald, some older players, more experienced players in the team. Then you look at the other side, with guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow. I mean, it's like a daycare over there. But here they are in the Super Bowl, and they've all contributed and made plays. And we have to talk about the defensive adjustments the Bengals made in the second half against the Chiefs as well. I think kicking will be huge, and both kickers will have a huge factor. But McPherson is getting a lot of hype right now. Everybody is teeing him up. Excuse me. He's been unbelievable though. Hasn't missed one, obviously, all playoffs. I think that people kind of correlate kicking field goals with unders. And I've never really understood that because to me, it's points. Points are points. Right. It's better than punting, better than going for it on fourth and not getting it. So I think he plays a huge factor in that game, and it should be super interesting. I do expect that it's going to have a slow start, but by no means do I think that each team will struggle to score a touchdown. I think that I know we're going to get into the props, but I think we're going to see some special teams plays, in this game as well.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into some props here. Ed Orgeron, the LSU head coach, with when Burrow and Chase won the national championship, was on. He's been on multiple shows this week, but he just talks about how calm and reserved these guys are when they play, and how they deal under pressure, and how impressive it is. And the Rams have all of I call them the all-star team. I mean, they have all these guys they're putting this team together that, some of them, Von Miller, he was with the Broncos when they won it. But Odell Beckham Jr., has never been on this stage. Stafford, like I said. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform on the big stage. And I just have more confidence in Burrow, Chase, and the Bengals at this point. And the Bengals defense needs to be talked about a lot more too, I believe. What they did in the second half against the Chiefs, I mean, is really is not being talked about enough, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well,
so
obviously it sounds like so for you, you're not concerned at all about the youth on the Bengals because they have experience in big games as well, right?
Not as much. No, I'll be on the Bengals. I'm on 4.5 right now. Probably going to be sprinkling on the money line too. So yeah, I have more confidence in the Bengals right now.
Would you agree with me on that for the MVP point about?
Oh, definitely. I brought that up. I had Ian Cameron on, and I brought that up to him too. If you're going to play the money line, just play the Burrow MVP. Because that makes 100% sense. I think it's what do you say 230? Yeah, I think it is now.
220, 230. Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely, I don't see anybody else winning it unless Chase breaks, 3 big runs or receptions.
Yeah. I gotta ask you. I mean, Cooper Kupp. He's really. I mean, he's had a triple crown. Unbelievable season for him. Yeah. But the number's been pushed up quite a bit. It was upwards to like 105 yards for his receiving. I really like Odell Beckham Jr.'s numbers here for his prop receiving yards. But obviously, I said I like the over. But do you think Kupp can get there? I mean, it's obviously the Super Bowl. It's the last game of the year for both these teams. They're going to target their guy, but. My favorite thing with this playoffs has been looking towards secondary guys. For the Bills, I didn't look towards Diggs. I had Gabriel Davis. For the Bengals, I haven't been looking as much towards Chase, been looking more towards T. Higgins, and for the Rams, looking more towards Odell. And I kind of expect the exact same thing this week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have some stats here from the previous games for Cooper Kupp. It's amazing when you put all these together. It's I think it's 105.5 yards is right now is the number. Okay. In the playoff games, he's totaled about 128 yards. Longest reception has on average been 41 yards. In the past, what do I have here? In the past 9 games, including the playoffs, he has averaged 121 yards per game. And the longest reception being on average 40 yards. So that brings me to my first prop I'm going to be going over. It's 105.5 and the longest reception for Kupp is 28.5. So I'll be on both of those. I already locked those in.
So that was an accidental segue on my part.
Yeah.
My apologies, but that kind of worked out. Yeah, the number is high, but it's high for a reason, right? So
it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're gonna hit that. I think that looking at the longest reception is big for I think both him and for Jamar Chase because I know you're liking both, but to me, I think that I think the worst case scenario it splits because I think that he either gets over or he still manages to get that longest reception. Same thing with Jamar Chase. Like, I'm not sure how many catches he's going to have in this game on Sunday, but I'm sure that at least one of them he's going to extend and turn into something and get his longest reception as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like Chase a lot in this one too. I know for the big game, you're not supposed to be playing these big numbers, but I'll bring this one up, and in all of the playoff games, Chase has had a rushing attempt, and he's had 23 yards rushing in the first round, 2 yards in the second round, and then last or 2 weeks ago, he's only had 3 yards on his rush. But you can get it 3.5. It's going up to 4.5 at some places. But if he breaks one, he only needs one rushing yard, or one rush attempt to get over that 3.5, 4.5. I was going to get into this a little later, which I will. I'll see. What are your thoughts on Chase with his rushing attempt there?
Well, it's like you said. I mean, it's not like you need a handful of carries for the job to get done there, and I think that they're going to have to be creative. You and I are both showing some respect towards the Bengals here, but we know it's not going to be easy, and I think they're going to have to not try and complicate things and get out of their comfort zone, I guess, Nick. But I think also be creative, and I think that creativity comes from doing things like putting the ball in Chase's hand in the backfield. And obviously the guy is so athletic. It's unbelievable. And they'll try and use him in as many ways as they can. So I'm right there with you. A rushing prop I liked actually as well was Joe Burrow. What are your thoughts on that one there? I mean, I think that he's kind of surprised some people with his ability to move around the pocket. They call him Mr. Calm and Collective, and he's done a good job of getting the ball out of his hands. But I feel like at 10.5, Nick, we can get over there as well.
Yeah, I had that marked down under 11.5. I didn't take it. And all of the unders I have, I'm not taking until game day. But I didn't take it because of his previous rush attempts. He's had 10 yards, 5 yards, 25 yards, 25 yards, 11 yards. That's in the last 9 games. And being in the Super Bowl, I mean, he's gonna put it all out there. So I like that, and the one I like even more I played is Stafford over 5.5. Okay. He's actually rushed over 5.5 yards each of the playoff games, and I think he could even get a touchdown in this one. I'll throw a little bit on the anytime touchdown for Stafford here.
I like that. And there's some great value on that. It's a good price.
Plus 900. Yeah, is what I got. So, yeah. That's anything else you got there?
Well, I wanted to mention the defense and special teams. Will there be a touchdown, in that sense? You can get that, Nick, at plus 260. And I think either it'll be a pick six, Stafford throws, or somebody on the Bengals fumbles and the Rams recover and take that to the house. You can specifically, this is getting a little bit carried away, but you can take like the plus 500 mark on the Bengals to be the team that scores the defensive touchdown. But either team or special teams at plus 260 is one I really liked. And I'm trying to remember. I apologize. I think it was like 8 of the last 15 or Super Bowls or something like that. It's been a positive expectation bet, and you consistently get that at upwards of plus 200 every single Super Bowl. And if you think back, you've seen quite a few defensive touchdowns.
You have. Yeah, I like that. I would say a pick six would be coming from Stafford. Burrow is just so accurate. He's thrown a couple picks, but I would see that. And a fumble could easily come at any time. I mean, Akers he's been fumbling a little bit more in the playoffs. So, that could be a possibility. And Stafford he fumbles a lot too. So
I wouldn't even mind a bet on both quarterbacks to throw a pick. But like you said, Burrow's so consistent that I think if it's the Rams defensive, team getting a touchdown, I think it's going to be a fumble recovery, not really a pick, because Burrows, for how young he is, has done a great job of throwing the ball away or taking care of the ball.
He has, definitely. Another one I like is a rushing prop. So I'm going to go against Joe Mixon here to go under his rushing yards. It actually went down this week to 61.5. It was 62.5. I expect it to go back up with the public coming in, but let me give you some stats here. The Rams have only given up over 61.5 yards twice in the past 9 games. And that was to the 49ers and the Ravens. So the Ravens run the ball the third most. They ran the ball the third most in the NFL. And the Niners, as you know, ran it the 6th most. Cincinnati's run success rate is 22nd in the league. So I don't see Mixon going over his total. I do see him receiving the ball.
Yes,
which
me too. Me too.
Which me and Ian talked about a little bit. I really like his receiving props. So
very low number there with that too.
Yeah,
I thought.
I agree. 24.5 is what I got the receiving yardage at, and longest reception 12.5.
Interesting.
So
I really like that Mixon receiving yards one, because I think that as much as we're going to see some explosive plays out of the Bengals, they're going to want to maintain possession. And right. I know that sounds like so simplistic to say and easier said than done, but they're not going to go for it, with like a 40-yard play to Jamar Chase every single drive. They're going to want to take care of the ball. And as much as we talk about Burrow being calm and collected, you get confidence through those first couple drives, and I think Mixon will get us over there. I'll take a bold statement here, Nick. I think he gets us over in the first half with those receiving yards.
That could happen.
I feel like they utilize him because, if the game plays out the way I think it might, I think the Bengals will be behind, but not by a bunch. But they're not going to just be slowly marching the field come the third and fourth quarter. They're going to be making big plays, and that's why I like the over. But I think that at the beginning of the game, we're going to see Mixon kind of settle in as well. Another one I wanted to give out was over 7.5 kicking points for Evan McPherson.
Okay.
He's obviously a huge talk right now. Unbelievable kicker. Hasn't missed one in the playoffs yet. I think they will not shy away to quote for quote settle for field goals. Field goals are points, like I mentioned at the start. And I think that you can get extra points off touchdowns, obviously, and the field goals. So it's a little bit juicy. I think it was like minus 154 or something like that. But I locked it in, Nick, and I do like that one, over 7.5 kicking points.
I like it. A fun one that I put in is McPherson over 50 yards, a field goal over 50 yards at plus 140. So he could easily hit that.
Oh, yeah.
If they get stalled, he could definitely hit a 50-yarder in a dome.
It's incredible. I find it so interesting. If you're a punter or a kicker or a field goal kicker in the NFL or even at any level, because if you think about it, there's so much going on and you just have that one job, you know what I mean? You step in and there's so much, and he's kicked, what was it? Back to back now, game winning, or was it back to back? So
that makes sense. I think every game in the playoffs has been a game winner at the very end, right?
I mean, they must have such good mental stability and just to be super calm, because when it comes down to it, the defense is out there doing their thing and the offense is out there trying to get you in a good spot, but you have one job.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like being a closer in baseball. I think somebody brought that up this week, is you got to be mentally strong to sit, the whole game and just get ready, when the time comes. So yeah, I'm with you there. Let me see here. I have a couple other props. Do you have any more you want to give out?
There's some other ones I'm kind of looking at as far as the cross sport ones, but there's kind of it's hard to it's hard to figure out how many different books offer them. Yeah. But I'll say there's a couple ones that I liked here. Knight's shots on goal versus Joe Burrow pass attempts. I think that's kind of interesting looking at that. The Avalanche goals versus Joe Mixon's receptions. I mean, all those ones are super interesting to look at. I'm still kind of diving into all these unique picks there, but
gotcha.
I'll say, Nick, that I've covered a lot of the ones I like. I haven't gotten into kind of some of the other ones. I will say, I actually, as far as the MVP goes, I didn't mention, I think Cooper Kupp could win the MVP of this game. or the Super Bowl, and the Rams obviously win, I think that we could see a mediocre game from Stafford, and the Rams still win the game, and all of a sudden, plus 550 at FanDuel, you can get Cooper Kupp. But I'd say Odell Beckham
with you.
One of my favorite ones probably this weekend. Even though I'm saying Cooper Kupp's gonna have a good game, I think that price is way too low for Odell.
Yeah, I'm with you. I played Kupp for MVP because I could see Stafford get two or three interceptions, and he's not going to get the MVP if that's the case.
It'd be actually funny to see him like have a really bad game, and then Kupp just goes off like 150 yards, and that'd be hilarious.
That could easily happen. Well, not easily, but some other fun props I have. Jamar Chase, most rushing yards, plus 15,000.
Wow.
The reason I played that, and then obviously it's for a small amount, but I like both running backs, Akers and Mixon, to go under their total. If somehow Chase breaks a 70-yard run, he'd be the top rusher.
Yeah. From what I've heard,
that
Nick,
was a fun
Akers is the most overhyped pick of the week.
Yeah.
From people I've talked to, Akers is the one that everybody's discussing, and people are waiting until kickoff, like you mentioned, and putting that on. I don't understand what stats and numbers people are looking at. So I'm happy you and I are on the same page.
Yeah.
Didn't this guy average like 2.3 yards per carry like a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, he has it. And in the playoff games, his highest total rushing yards was 55.
Yeah. So what's the excitement?
And I don't
understand.
He's going to split time with Sony Michel, and they're bringing back, what's his name, Henderson, I believe. Darrell Henderson.
I would rather take Michel's over rushing yards than I would with Akers.
Yeah. Do you know what that is right now? It's got to be the teens. Maybe?
I'll pull it up.
20s?
Yeah, I think I saw it at like 15, something like that.
Yeah. No, I'd like that better than Who knows? Maybe he gets a fumble. Maybe he fumbles the ball in the first possession and he never goes back in the game. Coaches do that. So I don't know.
These websites right now, Nick, it's like they're so clustered. Like usually I give respect to these betting websites, these like past little while with like the advancement of, betting and legalization everywhere. But for Super Bowl, I got to say, they've been pretty messy. There's just props and categories all over the place. It's hard to find something sometimes.
It is. Well, hey, don't worry about it. We're all. I'll give you two other ones that I kind of just for fun props. Any player 150 plus receiving yards at plus 200. Any of these receivers could possibly do that, especially Kupp or Chase. And then both teams to have the lead in the second half, plus 155.
I like that
with
one.
me being expected, like you said about it being a close game. I'm in the same boat. That could easily happen in the second half.
I really like that one. You said that was plus 200?
Plus 155. I found that one at BetMGM.
Great stuff. I like that quite a bit.
Yep.
What did you think about this is a popular one that I've seen from the Bengals, actually. Total number of players from the Bengals to record a rushing attempt over 4.5. I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, obviously the under is a big favorite in that, like minus 200 something. But to the point you made earlier, you mix in Jamar and mix in, Burrow and a couple other guys, and all of a sudden mix in
Perrine.
And then
you only need one more, right?
Yeah, and then it's plus 190 on the over. So it's funny. We were talking on Wager Talk about like the halves make such a difference on these unique props, and obviously, that's why it's plus 190 one way and minus 250 the other way. But all you need is one other guy to put the ball in his hands, and you get over there.
And the Super Bowl, there's so many trick plays too. So I think that would be a decent play for that plus money. Yeah. Well, hey, man, do you have any others? I know we want to get into the NHL futures here. Full disclosure, I'm not a huge NHL capper. I haven't placed an NHL play this year yet, but as it's not one of my strengths, but it's definitely one of your strengths. Do you want to get into what your thoughts are on the NHL futures here for the conference and Stanley Cup?
Let's do it. Let's jump into it. I'll say this, Nick. I don't often bet NHL futures prior to the season. At the beginning of the season, and I'm doing podcasts, I'm on radios, and people are asking me, what do you think about this? And I'm like, well, I haven't seen them play yet. And I know that sounds so easy to say, but with sports, like I think college hoops, stuff like that, NBA even maybe, you could take a look at the preseason, but even like the NFL, a lot of the times you can get sometimes a similar odds in like a couple weeks in on the same you would have seen prior, as long as you haven't seen one team just blowing teams out. But that's what I've done, Nick, for this year. I've placed some of the ones I placed were the Carolina Hurricanes to win the Stanley Cup. That's currently 10-1 right now. In front of them, we have the Vegas Golden Knights, Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Colorado Avalanche. I'm just a huge believer, just like most other people, that defense wins championships. And no matter what the sport may be, I think depth is also super key. And in the playoffs, that's what happens. That's what you need to see. I mean, you look at so many of these teams, like the Maple Leafs or like even the Panthers, that last year they just kind of had their top players have to carry the load. And when those guys weren't scoring, then there was nobody else really behind them to get that going. This year, both those teams have had that a bit more. But I think Carolina has 4 lines maybe sometimes that can not only score, but also play good defensive hockey. And one of the best goaltenders in the league. So 10-1. I like the Hurricanes quite a bit. If you want to play it a little more safe, you can look at teams to win their division, conference and division and stuff like that. I really like the Pittsburgh Penguins to win their division. It's plus 350 or plus 350 now.
Okay.
Or excuse me, not the division, the Eastern Conference at plus 800. Because although I have Carolina to win the cup, my goal obviously is for these two teams to be facing off in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then if Pittsburgh wins, obviously I cash my Eastern Conference ticket, and if Carolina wins, then we're off to the cup. So that number is definitely lost value, but I really do like that with Pittsburgh, Nick.
Yeah. And I'm seeing you can get the Hurricanes at plus 1,200 right now. So shop around for that one. Good deal. Now, do you have a pick or two for tonight for the listeners?
Yeah, for sure. Tonight, look, I'll give a play on Calgary and Toronto over 6. That's one I really like here for tonight. This will be the second game for both teams since the All-Star break. Calgary played a game last night, and I'll tell you, I always say that I believe that the term back-to-back is one of the most overrated things in sports handicapping, but I believe that's only for money lines and spreads. As far as totals, I really take that into account, tired legs and all that stuff, which should lead to sloppiness, which I think leads to goals. Calgary won 6-0 yesterday. I had the over in their game, and it pushed. I wasn't too happy. Vegas couldn't get me even one goal, but the Maple Leafs played Carolina in their first game back after the All-Star break. They were losing the whole game. They came back, won in overtime. Their last 8 games, they haven't scored any less than 3 goals. We're seeing a team like Calgary really get their offense going. And despite being a good defensive team, I think both those guys go together and get upwards of 7-8 goals tonight.
Awesome. And I will give out a college basketball play for tonight. This is a revenge spot for Oregon. Oregon's shooting 48.2% in the last 5 games while allowing just 38.1% on defense. On the road, Stanford has scored 62.7 points per game while giving up 70.4 points per game on defense. Like I said, it's a revenge spot. Stanford won this first matchup 72-69 on December 12th. And this is the time of year where Dana Altman gets his squads to flip the switch. Take Oregon minus 8.5 at home tonight. Any other plays that you want to give out, or we're coming up here on the time? So
that's about it, really. I might as well channel my inner fan for a second and just say, "Go Raptors, go!" I don't talk too much NBA, but the Raptors are, they're in business right now, and they're catching people off guard. I think the odds makers are disrespecting them. Obviously, I opened with I'm a fan of the team, but I think that they're not only being disrespected as far as the totals go. Last night, the total closed 204.5. I had the over in that game, goes way over. People don't think they can score. I don't really understand that. They've got Siakam and Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr. He had several games with 30 points or more. So I just wanted to channel my inner fan for a second if I could. And
there you go.
Say the Raptors are going to get going.
Yeah, they are playing well. Well, appreciate you coming on again, Andrew. Tell everybody where they can find you and if you have anything coming around the corner.
Really appreciate being here. Thank you for having me, Nick. Yep. Find me at Wager Talk. I host Puck Time, the hockey show, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. The co-founder of Mayflower Sports. Find us at Sports Mayflower. We do interviews with athletes. We talk with media personalities, podcasts, and it's relatively new, kind of last 6 months with a friend of mine, but really trying to grow that up quite a bit. So you can follow us on Twitter at Sports Mayflower. I'd really appreciate it.
Awesome. And you can always find me at Nick Hub Sports at thesportspickhub.com and the articles and podcasts on the oddsbreakers.com. And keep an eye on the Sports Wagering University. We have classes coming up here in a couple weeks for college basketball we're finishing up. So that's Sports Wager U at Sports Wager U on Twitter. So check that out, everybody. And like I said, thanks a lot, Andrew. We'll do this again sometime. That was fun.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, man.